What's going on, guys? This is Bradley alongside Zach, and you are listening to the Charm City Sideline podcast. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, dude. It's funny that we do these because like there's honestly a lot of different headlines right now, but
Yeah,
it's funny to still look at the off season because there isn't football. It's practice football, and there's still
mhm,
headlines to talk about, which is fun. But it's a different world, really. Like we've gone through the draft, we've gone through free agency, everything like that. Like it's now like the year is basically restarted. Like we are
yeah,
in we're in what? I just saw something a few days ago. It was 100 days till
yeah,
actual football. So, hey, we're going to be it's not that far. It's not that far.
yeah. It feels really weird. I feel kind of like out of it in terms of like Ravens football right now.
Mhm.
Um, because like this is our second year doing the pod, and last year we didn't do really anything in the off season until like August.
Mhm.
So this is like new territory for us. The draft was a little different because there was so much to talk about, and there is a lot to talk about right now. But it's interesting. I would definitely say covering the off season. But I guess we can get into the first story. Well, it's not even really a story. It's just really impressive attendance in this first OTA round of OTAs. So they practiced 3 times, 27th, 28th, and 29th. Today's the 30th, so we're sort of recapping those 3 days. Um, Basically everyone was there, which is pretty crazy. The only guys that don't have a reason were Jake Hummel, the sort of special teams linebacker that they signed, and then Kyle Van Noy.
Hmm.
Chidobe Awuzie wasn't there, but he is sick, and then Falele wasn't there, but Harbaugh said he's dealing with something physical. So I would assume like a very minor injury or something like that for him.
Wow.
But this is pretty rare to see attendance this high for any team in the NFL.
And I'm not gonna lie, this is not the most entertaining part of the entire, for round one OTAs.
Yeah.
But you're right; it's impressive that this early on the team is this locked in to join and get involved in OTAs. And you read that list, and it's 4 guys that, I mean, it's impressive. Just period. It shows that I think that the whole team is that much more um, set on going for a ring, like chasing to get that
Yeah.
and then hit that end goal. Um, it's a it's not necessarily a flashy topic, but it's definitely something you want to just bring up because if we're gonna have those end game um, speculations, then main thing on the table would be health, just being there.
Yeah, exactly. Isaiah likely mentioned that the Bills lost lit a spark under them, which I feel like almost any playoff loss probably would. But Harbaugh was talking about how they all know what they're here for, and I really just feel like everyone is sort of dialed in and locked in and lockstep, I guess you could say. Trying to get this ring. Speaking of that, Mark Andrews. Obviously, there's speculation all offseason that he might get traded,
Yeah.
and he obviously didn't, and he's going to be on the team this year for the final year of his contract.
Yeah.
He mentioned in his press conference 2 days ago, "This is my life," talking about football being his life. "Everything I do is focused on this. This is not the end. It's been a great offseason for me." And he also said he leaned on Derrick Henry for advice, sort of with an offseason workout program. What are you sort of expecting to see from Mark Andrews this season?
Well, I also saw something just to add on, just
Yeah.
icing on this cake here. I saw Harbaugh say that he thought likely could be an all pro this year. His
Mhm.
expectations were that someone like likely could be an all pro. And yeah, that could just be coach slop. Like, yeah, you're trying to be really positive about your guy and everything like that. But when you think about 2 tight ends for this team that are so important, Mark as in the long tenured guy, all pro, Pro Bowl tight end that is in a contract year, there's so much pressure for him to be good and not only maybe return to the Ravens, but maybe get a really good contract somewhere else if that ends up being
Yeah.
where we go with a likely in that situation. So it's funny that I'm thinking of likely as in whenever we're talking about Mark, but Mark has probably the most I don't want to keep saying potential, but I'd say the most likely ability to become very good this year, given his connection with Lamar and the fact that he has all of these different situations that are really hopefully boosting him as a player and his total aggression on the field, I hope.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting because it's kinda like Andrews and Likely can't both have really good seasons, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
not really possible for both of them to have, like, 800 yards or 700
Yeah.
yards or something like that, so one of them is probably gonna be due for a big deal, and the other one's probably gonna be due for, more of a average tight end above average-ish tight end deal, and, I think we'd all be very surprised if they keep Andrews and not Likely,
Yeah.
but, we'll see what happens this season. I think Andrews will probably still have a solid regular season. It'll be interesting to see how they use him early because last year early he was almost non-existent and then he started to sort of pick it up.
Hmm.
Um, so I am interested to see how they use them. I obviously would rather likely be on the field more if that's possible.
Yeah,
But
you as the likely guy, what did you think about Harbaugh saying all pro expectations? Do you think that
yeah,
means that Monken's writing him in a few more times, or what's the deal?
I think so because it was kind of interesting last year how week 1 against the Chiefs he had 120 yards and a touchdown, almost 130 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Mhm.
And that was, like, the most they used him all year, and it was kinda confusing to us, I feel like. I wanna see him I wanna see Likely playing almost 100% of the snaps. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like, I want him on the field as much as Mark Andrews played in 2021. Like, that's
Mm.
how I wanna see Isaiah Likely being used, and hopefully Harbaugh is telling the truth when he says
I
he,
know.
is hoping for an all-pro year from Likely, and, I think it's possible, right? Like, we talked about early days of this podcast was, you know, 2023, late 2023 season and going to that off season. I remember telling you guys, I think Isaiah Likely's a top 10 tight end. And everyone was like, what are you talking about, Brad? And I think maybe there might be some more agreement there now, but probably not, still not a ton. But
Top 10 is bold. It's bold.
yeah, yeah. But we'll see. I think he'll
Mhm.
definitely be top 10 at the end of this season.
I
So
hope so. But I think you're right, though. It's one or the other. I think it's
yeah.
more possible that it's Mark, to be honest. But if Harbaugh's talking about likely like that, then why not believe the other side too? So
And yeah, real quick, a take that you had, not really a take, but something you slightly mentioned a few months ago, I think, was do they purposefully use Likely a little bit less to not have to pay him like $17 million a year?
doesn't that seem like what they would do? Because if Mark is, that teams are giving a lot of attention to Mark. You see, the Steelers and Hard Knocks going like, "Do not let 89 get the freaking ball in the red
Yeah,
zone." Like they're freaking hawking in on him. Let Mark be the freaking one for the year. I mean, what's gonna hurt likely in the future if it's one more year of being, another safety valve, but not the main one for one more year? I don't
yeah,
know. And oh no, we have to pay him 6 million less than we would if he was elite. Oh no. I know DeCosta's freaking giddy for that. He would definitely be pumped for that.
yeah, yeah. That is interesting. The Ravens would definitely love Andrews to have an amazing season for that reason, probably.
Mhm.
But we'll see how it all shakes out. Obviously, a lot more time to talk about it. Um, Another topic that we heard from Jonas Schaefer on Twitter was, well, first of all, I mean, this happens with almost every practice, but he first said that Lamar was sharp. This is the second day of practice, 10 for 11 in 11 on 11 work. And his only miss was a Zay Flowers drop deep down the field. So, it feels like Lamar almost never throws incompletions in practice and is always on fire. But the second part of that tweet from Jonas Schaefer was talking about Tez Walker and how impressive he was on a touchdown catch and made a lot of plays in the 11-on-11 that day. You have any thoughts on that, Zach?
I love Tez Walker. Let's not get this wrong. I love the fact that we cheered for him, thought that he scored that one touchdown, he was going to break out like right after that. So, I mean, we all are rooting for him, but this is kind of the OTAs kind of curse with the late round receiver.
Yeah.
He balls out and the stuff, and then it's like the attention gets to him. I sure hope the best for him, but this always happens, and Tez Walker is the guy this year, which is okay.
Yeah, it really doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means a little bit. If they were like Tez Walker dropped 4 passes today, then it'd be like, yeah, we're basically completely writing him off.
Yeah.
But like knowing that he played well, it's good to know. But yeah, it doesn't really mean anything in terms of like what could happen during the season. Sort of an inside joke amongst Ravens fans. We talked about this right before we went live. Jaleel Scott and Jordan Lasley that year.
Yeah, exactly.
When they both were like, the beat writers were saying, they were going off every day in training camp, and they both did nothing with their NFL careers. So, it really does not mean anything. But if Tez Walker could be, the Ravens have too many weapons. But like,
I know, especially with what we're about to get to.
Yeah, but I really do think he has the potential to be like a solid like MVS type of player.
I hope so.
A few years down the line, hopefully. I think that's kind of what his skill type is. But we'll see.
I don't necessarily compare them, but as in comparison towards careers, Miles Boykin has kind of found a spot in the NFL as a bona fide, a special teamer, 4, 5, 6 guy. So maybe at worst, Tez turns out to be out something like that. I mean, at worst,
I will say
that's why it makes me confident, at least, that he can go into a practice and be very impressive and active, even in that kind of setting. It means that he's probably a bona fide NFL player for a good amount of time.
Yeah, I would say so. I do think
which is good. That's good to hear.
I do think that Tez Walker is, Miles Boykin should not have been a 3rd-round pick. Like, he got drafted high because he's like 6'4" and ran like a 4.42. But he was like, I have no idea how he ran a 4.42. Like, Miles Boykin looked so slow on the field and didn't really have great ball skills either.
That one Seahawks catch, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, like I do think Tez Walker is a lot more talented, but we'll see how it all plays out. Staying with the weapons, Ravens signed DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, who up until now, once we finally saw him in a Ravens uniform, I kept forgetting he was on the team. It just like was not something that was registering in my mind. But he posted something on his Instagram story, which I assume a lot of people have seen, where it was like the Ravens do this thing where it's the top speeds at practice. Yeah. And DeAndre Hopkins had the 3rd fastest speed on the team at OTAs, hitting 20 miles per hour. So he had some message up there, like people were saying how slow. It was something like that. But, I saw someone on Twitter comparing this to the Odell signing in 2023, and I feel pretty comparable to that. Like, he gets a lot of hate. Odell does, like saying he was washed. That he had like almost 600 yards and like a few touchdowns. Like, he was a very solid contributor that year, in my opinion. And I think Hopkins, we could expect a similar season from him.
I like that. And it's really it is a real notion that veteran wide receivers come here to die or something, or it's Ravens are a veteran receiver graveyard, some crap like that. And I'm not necessarily saying that's not true, but D-Hop is kind of a different person in this. He's had injury kind of concerns. He's had a chance at a Super Bowl last year and played really good in it. He's a different animal. This is not like Odell Odell with, I guess, the Rams, he gets injured by the end of it, so he's not playing.
Yeah.
But I assume someone like that, if they get a chance to be in the spotlight and in late season situations, they're only gonna excel. And I think having D-Hop and him posting, the picture of him being
Mhm.
top 3 and going, "Oh, I'm an old man," like that's the D-Hop we want. We don't want some vet that's gonna be like quiet and quiet cat.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
want a guy that has been, if not the best wide receiver in the league, one of the best at one point in his career. And now he's going to be showing our young guys a whole nother side of being a veteran and being at the top of your game, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I'm just so excited for that. I've never been more excited for a veteran signing. We were excited for OBJ just because that meant Lamar was going to stay.
Yeah, basically brought Lamar back.
This is just the rich get richer. This is legitimately an elite, well, not an elite wide receiver, a good veteran wide receiver, formerly elite, saying, I want to go play for the Ravens for much cheaper than I would take for a lot of different teams.
Yeah.
So it's overall just a very perfect match. It's such a breath of fresh air as in a talent level, I think. I think Odell is very good. I think D-Hop has always been better than him. So it's a different level of excitement for me because of who Diop is, I think.
Yeah, and it's good to have a veteran presence in the room, like you said, and this is basically, honestly, correct me if I'm wrong, the Ravens offense is basically the exact same as last year personnel-wise with Hopkins replacing Aguilar, right? Like, I don't think
Okay.
I'm really missing anything.
Right.
And, I would say that's an upgrade, but when the Ravens signed some of these receivers, like when they signed Odell and when they signed, well, Odell was more of a contributor than Hopkins is going to need to be. Like when the Ravens signed Odell, it was like rookie Zay, Bateman, who had been injured his whole entire career, and then Odell. This year, it's Zay coming off a Pro Bowl season, Rashad Bateman coming off a 11 touchdown season,
Yeah.
and then you got Hopkins. So yeah, I'd say I would expect around 500, 600 yards from him. A few jump ball plays in the end zone. Is sort of what I'd be expecting from him this season.
Yeah, the same excitement that someone like OBJ brought us, as
Yeah,
in can make a few big plays, clutch plays,
yeah,
and 100%, 200% better as in a catching traffic,
yeah,
clutch catch guy than Aguilar. I love Aguilar. He was
yeah,
awesome, but I trust D-Hop a
yeah.
lot more.
Yeah, there's a few times where Aguilar had a chance for like, I wouldn't even say a 50-50 ball, more of just like a tough contested catch that he should bring in and just like did not.
And that just doesn't sound like something DeAndre Hopkins does.
Yeah,
Not bring
yeah,
that
yeah,
ball
yeah.
in. It
And
feels like that's going to happen.
and like again, I might just like be fanboying over Odell too much, but I really don't think I am. Like he made those catches too. Like he had great hands. There was a play against the Rams game in the rain. There was like a long third down, I think, and Odell made a catch on like a not great throw from Lamar, like just with his hands like an inch off the ground. And like Odell had really good hands, and I think you're sort of looking for that in Hopkins as well. And Aguilar just didn't give you that.
And Hopkins is for sure going to give you that.
Yeah.
That makes me excited. And we can get to the next topic. Slap me in the face.
Yeah.
What the heck? Darius Washington apparently had a clean Achilles tear. It broke our hearts. It was about a month ago, right?
Yeah.
If even less than.
Yeah, maybe a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and apparently striving for a November, December comeback.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Huh? What the heck is the deal with this?
So I'm going to find out the exact date that he tore his Achilles.
And I'm not sure if we had a pod, it was very short. But if we did mention it about that injury, we might have just said, you know what, we're glad we have Kyle. We're glad we have Starks.
Yeah.
And now, because we figured it's good. All right, see you next year, Ardarius. Like, if he comes back in December, let's say December, late December at worst, and he's here for a playoff run come January, maybe a game or two, and then January he's here for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't take that? Someone tweeted out like that Washington is activated off IR tweet in December is going to hit like crack. It's like, I can't believe it, dude. What in the world?
Yeah, so he tore his Achilles on May 12th. So
It's not that long ago.
Almost 3 weeks ago. 9 months after May 12th, which is an Achilles tear, normally is about a 9-month recovery. And even with that, you're usually not yourself until like a year and a half later. And 9 months after May 12th would be February 12th. So it's like, in my opinion, it'd be like, okay, maybe he could be back for a Super Bowl if we were to make it. And even then, you probably wouldn't want him playing in that game.
That's true.
So I'd be shocked if he's back. And like, I know the whole Cam Akers thing when he came back 6 months after his Achilles tear.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't really been the same ever since that. I'm not saying he came back too soon, but maybe he did. I don't know. I just feel like he should just be out for the year, honestly. Like, if his recovery is able to happen that quickly and he feels 100%, activate him in December. But that would be crazy.
I know. And it also brings up a question of I do remember talking about this with you because when we talked about the three of them, and you lose Ardarius, it's like, all right, well, are we going to go sign someone again? Or are we now trusting one of the younger guys to step in and play a third safety role? So I guess that's probably still on the table. I know as in signings, I know we signed a nose tackle like John Jenkins.
Yeah.
So some stuff has been addressed, but if a safety has not been signed by now, I would lean towards the fact that they're going to go with a young guy.
Yeah, Bo Brader, Sanusi Kane, I guess. I like 10 minutes after I saw the Ardarius Washington news, I was like, they need to sign a safety. Like, I mean, I still feel the exact same way. Justin Simmons, Julian Blackmon, right? We've talked about those two guys since the season ended, even with Ardarius Washington being healthy. Obviously, that was before they drafted Malachi Starks, but we talked about those two guys as potential signings. And, they bring in John Jenkins, like you said, to sort of be a run-clogging nose tackle. I would like to see them bring in a safety as well. Unless, like you said, maybe they really, really like Bo Braid or Sanusi Kane, and they're fine with them. But, like, I was watching Mina Kimes on her podcast recently, and she was talking about an X factor for every single team this season. And for the Ravens, she said, Chidobe Awuzie.
Wow.
Who, that it makes sense because with the Ardarius Washington injury, Awuzie is probably starting at outside corner now. Because, Hamilton and Starks are going to be the two safeties. So if you have Humphrey playing in the slot, Awuzie is starting week 1 now, and you're hoping he's going to be the starter all year. And so that concerned me a little bit, I would say. Basically going to be playing the Brandon Stevens role of last year. So I don't know. Like, I guess it's hard to say if you have confidence in him or not because we haven't seen much from him.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So, like, that's why I'm saying, like, sign a Julian Blackmon or Justin Simmons and you can play Hamilton in the slot.
Sure.
But, we'll see what happens.
And that can kind of go right hand in hand with the next kind of part. Malachi Starks is practicing without a contract and then signed 4-year, $16.6 million deal. I don't understand the tweet. I don't understand the tweet, the Marlon Humphrey tweet.
Okay, so Malachi Starks just signed his contract, yesterday?
Yeah.
And he practiced at rookie minicamp and OTAs. So the Bengals draft pick, Shamar Stewart, first round pick, still hasn't practiced at all.
That's it.
And I don't know if it's his fault or the Bengals' fault. Like, I don't know who's more to blame. But like these rookie contracts are like set. Like I don't think much negotiation happens. I think
Yeah, I can't
basically
imagine.
the spot you're picked at, whether it's 4th overall, 19th overall, like you're going to get a specific amount of money. So I don't know if there's some weird guarantee thing that they're not agreeing on or what. But the Bengals and their first round pick, Shamar Stewart, cannot agree to a deal, and he's not practicing. But Starks hadn't signed his contract yet, and he was practicing. So it's kind of just a shout out to him. And Marlon Humphrey clarified that he wasn't hating on Shamar Stewart; he was hating on agents and that sort of thing. So we'll never know. We'll never know if he's telling the truth there or not. But that was just a little tidbit that I thought was cool that Starks has been practicing without a contract. So yeah, it just shows the type of player he is.
Yeah. Yeah, you want.
Yeah. So I guess sort of the final thing we were going to talk about today is Odafe Owe, who, I never really thought he was like too small, but he definitely had like a slight build, right? So he was.
I don't know. I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I guess maybe an average.
I'm saying Odafe Owe had a slight build while I sit at 165, but he was 6'5", 245, and he gained like 15 to 20 pounds over the past couple months. And you could tell too in the photos at his press conference. So now he's 6'5", 265. And that's more of like I guess I would say like prototypical edge rusher size. So if you combine that with like the explosiveness and the speed that he has, I mean, I think that's an interesting decision on his part to sort of see how that helps him or maybe doesn't help him.
Yeah. And I think Harbaugh, whether Harbaugh was speaking truly or not, it also said is 15 pounds of muscle or 10 pounds, well, whatever he said. And I mean, gosh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So I hope he's another upgraded level of himself on the field. That would be so much fun. That got me pretty pumped up. I won't lie. That was pretty awesome to hear because it seems like, well, isn't he in some sort of contract situation or is that not?
Yeah, a little bit. He had some cryptic tweets a few months ago because this is his final year of his contract, and
so that could definitely be a part of it. Just really trying to go all in, and earn that deal like a few players have been in the past.
Yeah, so this is his 5th-year option year, I believe. It'd be interesting to know, like, the Ravens always try to sign these guys a year before they break out. It worked very well with Rashad Bateman, but a lot of times these guys decline this sort of contract. Like Matabike, they tried to get him signed before the year he blew up. Obviously didn't work out. So I wonder if the Ravens sort of offered away a contract. He felt like he was lowballed. There's a little bit of a dispute between them, but obviously he's not holding out. So, that's another thing. Trey Hendrickson, Bengals hate podcast. Trey Hendrickson still hasn't practiced. I would be surprised if he's there for training camp unless a deal gets done. Owe doesn't have a contract. He wants one, and he's at voluntary OTAs. So just another sign that everyone's all in.
Maybe just showing off the new bod, though. I mean, 265.
Yeah,
maybe he's just like, I'm here, by the way. So
yeah, maybe he just wanted to show off the 15 pounds of muscle.
Isn't that really cool, though? Like, you don't really hear that in the NFL at all, just about teams and all their players showing up, even if they're in contract situations.
Yeah.
We have a lot right now.
Yeah, we do.
Technically, we have a lot. And they're all
here.
Yeah. They're all very, very serious about this whole thing. So pumps me up. It gets me pretty jacked up.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so there's, I believe, 3 more rounds of OTAs. So there'll be, continued news stories coming out through mid-June, I believe. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated through that. And, we're hoping to bring you guys some interesting episodes that probably no one else is doing or thinking of. So, late June, July, before training camp, we're going to try to get a few of those out and see if you guys enjoy them. I guess we can't say too much else, but yeah. So appreciate you guys for watching this, tuning in.
I guess
like
we
the
could
video.
say
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
go
say
ahead.
if anyone does have an idea for a podcast like for us
Yeah,
to talk about or something, throw it down there. Let us like see it. We have some fun stuff in mind, some guests in mind. But I mean, shoot, it's the off season. I think we want to hear some stuff if you guys want us to talk about stuff. So I'd be open to that for sure.
yeah, for sure. If you guys have any ideas, send them our way to I guess DM our Instagram account,
Put
Trump
them in the
City Sideline.
comments. You can put them
Yeah,
in the
yeah, or
comments.
comments. But yeah, we have a few ideas that I think would make for some fun episodes. But yeah, feel free to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and we'll probably see you guys soon. So yeah, peace.
Peace.